Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out True Off My Chest. Story 1. Update: my mother did things to my boyfriend. I was wondering if I should update this. I keep getting messages and I see people worrying about me, so I want to update you on a few things. I feel like this still isn't going to be closure to all of this, and I feel like I'm losing my whole life after this. I'm losing who I thought was my mother and who I thought was my boyfriend. Starting with S, I did as you suggested and was the college coordinator. I know some people thought this was an obvious step, but when you're in a hurricane, your mind doesn't work well. The college warned S to stay away from me. He would be cited for harassment within the college, but they couldn't do anything outside of it. Then S kept harassing me online, which made me delete all my accounts. He also came to my apartment a few times, but my neighbor, an 80 kilograms man with a very bad temper, threatened S so he didn't come back here. He knows where I work so I would show up sometimes. My co-workers helped me keep him away. I will be talking to SS family. One of his brothers already knows about this, but I want to talk to his parents and ask for help to keep S away. I mentioned to some people that I am dealing with the police. Thank you to the people who offered to help me with this. The reason for this attitude was aggression from my mother. She came to my work to talk. I asked her to leave so my mother hit me in the face, accusing me of humiliating her in public. I ended up with a bruised lip and a bruise on my cheek. My manager called the police and I opened a case against her. I'm going through the process to get a restraining order. I'm also waiting for my lease to end before I move out. You're right, my mother has been trying to live through me and competing with me like a stupid teenager. I discovered some of her actions like stealing my clothes and going out alone with some friends from school, boys and girls. I don't know how far she went with them, but that wouldn't be a surprise. She has had abusive attitudes over the years, but I can only feel it now. It's like I've been living in an imaginary world my whole life. It's strange to think that I don't even know who that woman is. I looked for my father and I was able to find a criminal record of his in Chile and another in Uruguay, all involving assault. He is absolutely a bad person. I don't want contact with him and I'm not even going to look for that man. I've been stuck in my apartment since the attack. My manager allowed me to work from home for a while. I haven't been going to college for about 3 days. I don't know if I'll go back. I don't feel ready to deal with my personal problems and activities. Academics and my work. I'm looking for therapy but unfortunately I haven't found any that can fit into my budget. People in Chile who have recommendations for therapists who don't charge a lot, please send me a message. Well, this and all I can say right now. It's not the best update but anyway, I'm posting this. A small final comment: I saw some profiles on TikTok and Facebook responding to my report and I noticed. Story 2. I feel so guilty that my parents got an autistic kid. I'm 26 and living with my parents. My older sister is doing amazingly in life and I don't know if I'll ever be able to move out. I can be good at some things but my challenges make life so painful and I am constantly consumed with guilt that my parents got this for their second child. They did nothing to deserve this punishment. I love them more than anything in the world, and I can't stand the thought of losing them, but there's a part of me that wishes they would die so I can kill myself. I could never put them through that while they're still around, but my existence is so painful and pointless. I exist both to fulfill my parents' wishes of a second child and to contribute to the labor force, but if I can't contribute to the labor force in a sufficiently valuable way, then I will have no reason to exist after my parents die. In that case, it would be good for the economy for me to die because I would not be using scarce resources like housing that more valuable people are more deserving of. This doesn't reflect my personal views, but I understand that the world works differently from how I see things. In Canada where I live, multiple people have been approved for and received euthanasia because their disability prevented them from working hard enough to afford rent. I hope that I will have this option once my parents are gone because I'm terrified of doing it myself and I can't stand the thought of some poor person having to clean up the scene. Story 3. My girlfriend and I were caught in a flash flood last night. We are okay but I think I may be traumatized from the experience. Long story short, we got caught in a sudden flash flood on a desert highway. Within seconds we were surrounded by about 3 feet of water and no apparent way out. All we could do was keep driving until we reached higher ground and hope the car didn't stall. Fortunately we made it after driving through a quarter-mile or more of high, fast-flowing water. It was scary and I was aware of how bad the situation could become, but only now am I really starting to experience the fear and dread of the situation. I keep having flashbacks to the image of all that water surrounding us, and reassuring my GF that we'd be okay even though I didn't even fully believe that myself. Last night I was afraid but I was able to push forward. But today I just feel paralyzed by the fear. Story 4. My dad decided he's homophobic. For the past 3 years I've been very open about my sexuality with my dad. For 3 years he told me he accepts me for who I am. For Pride Month I put a flag on my door and bought a really soft pansexual blanket. I noticed my dad a bit annoyed by it but yesterday he snapped. He told me the entire LGBTQ community was about sex and me having a flag on my door was like him having a sign that says I like vagina. I tried to explain that it's not about the sex. It's about who you're attracted to. He stopped me and insisted he was right and it was all about sex. What really hurt me is he told me I'm tired of your sexuality like he thought I would grow out of it and it was a phase. I wonder if he really did support me for all these years or if he was lying. He said I'm not allowed to have any pride outside my room. Edit, in the Story 5. I got to leave boyfriend mode for a night and I felt great. I have been with my partner of 5 years now and they and I have had a rough patch for about a year now. They and I have came to a conclusion that we need to go low contact so we can stop being so burnt out. The first day I felt weird not being there to always be with my partner but the second day I felt great, even though I had to be cold towards my partner over texts. It was a great night. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 6. Girls are cruel. There was this girl I went to school with who I tried to get to know over DM on Instagram. She took a screenshot of our conversation and posted it. Why do people do this? I didn't say anything weird. That I just wanted to get to know each other. Now she made me look like a creep for no reason. Never doing that ever again. This is why I have trust issues. Story 7. It hurts that I'm not my partner's first anything. He's going to be my first. I'm not even his first 10. I feel horrible for feeling this way. I'm not trying to judge/shame him. I would never want to make him feel bad and maybe it is insecurity because I don't feel like I have much to offer with no experience and I worry about being compared. I cry when I think about it too much. I just feel like I'll be another number, just another girl. I know it's not true with the connection we have, he's the person for me but sexually I just don't feel like I'll stand out. Maybe it's that I've built losing it up in my head, I've waited so long for my person. I just don't know how to cope with the fact that I'm not special. I'm trying to think of sex as more of a feeling instead of this big emotional thing but that doesn't help because it is emotional for me. And I want it to be for my partner too. I hope I haven't offended anyone. I'm not really religious so it's not a purity thing. I just struggle to cope with it and it's a hard feeling to describe. Story 8. Kicked my GF of 7 years out today. Cheater and liar. You probably saw that coming though. And it's not even the first time she's cheated. How could I be so foolish? March 2022. We had a dry spell for like 5 months. Things were weird and it felt off. Went through her one morning and saw her sending nasty messages to a dude. Sat on that all day at work. Came home and confronted her and she confessed to meeting him at a bar, kissing, exchanging multiple nudes. Confessed to exchanging nudes with a second guy too. We decided to work it out. Thought things were going well. Last Thursday, August 2023. I went through her phone again. Found her exchanging nudes with another dude again. It was at like 6 a.m. This time I didn't sit on it all day. I woke her up and told her start packing. Sadly, she did a good enough job begging for me back on my way out the door to work. I texted her midday that day and said you can stay but I need to simmer for a couple days. We talked about it. She did a good job of bullshitting me. Appeared to be expressing guilt, shame. She confessed there was another guy she had exchanged nudes with too. Awesome. Someone she pulled on my emotions enough to talk me into staying again. Told her if I had other options, I would break up and find someone else. Thing is, I have no one. Big factor in me staying this whole time. This morning. 6 a.m. Looked at her phone again. Realized there was a recover deleted messages button on iMessage. Found what she conveniently forgot to mention when we talked on Thursday. Texts with a dude at 3 a.m. who's sending her his location. Someone wanting to make a video with her with all the sexual emojis. I read through it all. She didn't tell me about any of that. I told her to be out before I get home from work at 3:30 today. Not enough time but whatever. I was acting out of emotion. Was I right to kick her out before I got closure? I do plan to have one more conversation with her. Thought it would be today. Guess I have to wait now. I have no one. No friends. No women. She was my best friend and life partner. Gone. I'm so broken. Story 9. I had to be the one to take my late father off of life support. March of 2020 I got a call out of the blue saying my father was at a hospital in Florida on life support, due to a sudden brain bleed caused by uncontrolled blood pressure. They told me since I was next of kin I needed to decide on what the next steps would be, pulling the plug or possibly placing him on long-term care where he would be a vegetable. Sounds like a normal thing the eldest child would have to handle if their parent was not married, right? Well, for me it was a very traumatic/confusing experience that I still haven't come to terms with. On my end, it was completely unfair. My dad hasn't been in my life or my other siblings lives since we went into foster care many years ago. I was age 6. He had 6 kids total and failed to be in any of our lives. I was 27 when asked to make the decision, so while I knew of him he was more like a complete stranger to me. He's basically been a transient type, alcoholic my entire life that had sporadically called me maybe every 5 years. He didn't ever own a vehicle or house, was never on a lease, and I don't think he even had an ID. The hospital had him labeled as John Doe. He held down odd handyman jobs basically just to be able to keep buying beer, lol. He owed thousands in child support. For me to have had to make such a crucial decision for someone I really didn't even know was and still is beyond me. It was crazy that they even managed to get my contact info anyways. It's now 3 years later, and I have his ashes. I had to purchase and earn myself, and he's now on my fireplace mantle. It's the weirdest thing. It's just crazy that he was able to cause me such emotional, life-lasting trauma, having no father figure my whole life, and yet I was left to show empathy and care for him during his final days. If only the dang hospital had known. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.